So we're sailing out of the harbor, and out of the corner of my eye, I just whip my head around and I see this stingray leap from the water, flap its wing-like fins twice, and then just splat, belly flop. I yelled for everybody to look, but of course it was over super quick and didn't happen again, but they all heard the splash. And I'm just so excited for warmer weather and to go diving and explore the marine ecosystems here, and my eagerness is coming out in just my nose in the books. And so I looked up what's going on with rays. What is the deal with them jumping? And there are several hypotheses, including courtship, escaping predators, cleaning off parasites, curiosity, and giving birth. Somehow that might help get the little wee ones out? I don't know. But my favorite hypothesis, yes, I play favorites. My favorite hypothesis is fun. Just for the sheer joy of it. The rays are jumping for fun. And I mean, it sure looks fun. But what I really dig about this hypothesis is that, science is really beginning to expand its understanding of the emotional and intellectual lives of more and more animals. Not just mammals, because there's so much like us, but really considering things that are nothing like us, like stingrays and crows using tools and solving complex puzzles. And I just kind of feel like it's about time, animals have long been understood to have emotional lives and wisdoms and even interspecies communication in cultures all around the world. And science catching up kind of reminds me of when you're a kid and you're growing up and you're learning empathy, and then at some point maybe you have that epiphany that everyone around us is living a life just as vividly as we are. Their internal life is its own world, and everything is from a slightly different perspective. And so it's there's a billion people, so it's there's a billion worlds existing on this planet, each world in our own heads, and each overlapping and interacting to create the collective human experience. And yeah, clearly I get really excited when I encounter wildlife and my mind starts going. But anyway, I just, given the explosion of accepted knowledge about animal emotional intelligence, and even before that, it just makes sense to me that stingrays would jump for joy. Or that orca whales would have fads like wearing salmon skin hats, or that elephants would mourn a death in the herd, or that sharks have distinct personalities. And it just, it made sense to me before science started to get into it, because how can you be a living thing on this planet and not feel all the feels, right? Joy, fear, curiosity, sadness. And I don't say this as a way to anthropomorphize animals, right? Projecting our emotions and motivations onto animals can lead to misunderstandings of animal behavior. What I'm talking about is not to assess how much they're like us, but more of an understanding, or trying to understand them more holistically. And I feel like this is something that we struggle to do often just with other people who speak our language and can literally tell us how they feel, right? We still dismiss people and don't think that their experience is real. And I think that we would all really benefit from practicing listening more, not just to each other, but to the buzzing and chirping and splashing world around us. If we can manage to give the dogs on our couches and the cats on our keyboards the benefit of emotional complexity, maybe it's time to extend that same kindness to their wild cousins. Maybe it'll help us understand how we live in relation to all of these other living beings, whether it's the pollinators in our gardens, or a squirrel running in front of us, or the raccoons raiding our garbage cans like some midnight buffet. We all are living in relation to each other, and relationships can be healthy or unhealthy. And in this case, between us and animals, the choice is largely ours. So when I think about the role of biodiversity for a healthy planet, at minimum, we may not know what it feels like to be a stingray, but we know what it's like to jump for joy, right? And we certainly know that stingrays have a role in the ecosystem, just like every other species, just like us. And part of our role and responsibility is to ensure that other flora and fauna and natural entities can fulfill their roles, because that's what keeps the ecosystem healthy. In that way, we're kind of like a keystone species, except one big difference is that ecosystems tend to do just fine without us. And so if we want to be part of an ecosystem as a positive force, then we need to act accordingly. And that's a lot easier to do. It's a lot easier to come from a place of kindness and responsibility when we have this realization that we're all tangled up in the same giant, messy, beautiful ecosystem, and that all the creatures around us that we share this planet with, they're not just scenery. They're fellow travelers on this little blue ball hurtling through space, and sometimes they're so full of life they can't help but jump for joy. So here's to hoping I see more eagle rays when I finally whip out the snorkel gear.